Hey guys, welcome back. Today we are working on a 2000 maybe GMC Savannah van. That's what the customer told me. It's a school bus. Not sure why they didn't describe it as a school bus. Yeah, it's on a Savannah van chassis, but we normally don't work on school buses. But since they already scheduled it, it is for the school district. Their mechanics are exhausted on it. We're going to check it out. I've had this thing for 3 days and couldn't get it jacked up. Complaint is intermittent no start. They drive it, it's fine. Sometimes it won't start. Doesn't matter if it's hot or cold outside. Sometimes it'll do it in the morning. They said that they got it started last time by spraying a little bit of ether into the air intake cleaner. It fired right up. They've already replaced the fuel pump 3 times. Replaced the fuel pump relay. Tuned it up. Ignition module. So let's see if we can figure out what's going on. So like I was saying, it hadn't acted up on me for 3 days. The manager came down and said it most likely will happen if you drive it for about 5 minutes or more, shut it off, wait a few minutes and try to start it. So that's what I did. It's actually been sitting out here for about half an hour because I got tied up, but got nothing. I got the scanner hooked up. Let's see if there's any usable data in the scanner before we start taking off the doghouse cover and performing actual checks at the engine. So I went ahead and scanned it. There were no codes. Let's go back to data. And I'm just on regular data. I want to make sure that I have engine RPM. That will indicate if my crankshaft position sensor is working. Okay, I do have that. The rest of my data looks pretty good. Coolant at 150. Intake air temp 120. That's just because it's been sitting and not moving. TPS, we're not in clear flood mode. I guess we could verify that it works, but I'm sure that's good because it drove fine. Map sensor, 23 inches of mercury. Does that look okay to you guys? Well, I'm at 5,200 feet, so that is okay in my area. 23 to 24 is what I'm typically at. As you can see, the baro is at 24.8. I just cycled the key real quick. Map sensor went back, and now it is matching the baro. So we're good there. There's not a whole lot else we can see on here, except for ignition voltage, which we have voltage at the ECM. We have it while cranking. We're a little on the low side, but we still have communication, so that ECM is still alive. So here's what I want to do. I want to pull the doghouse off. The guy told me I could ether it and it might start. I don't want to do that. I want to verify a few things first. We're going to pull the doghouse off. We may have to pull the air intake cleaner off. I want to see if we have fuel pressure, for one. I know they just did 3 pumps, but that'll indicate whether or not we need to go check voltage at the pump. Especially since they said they ethered it and it started up. But I'm almost suspecting a ignition issue. We might be losing spark. Now they tuned it up, they put a cap and rotor and wires on it, but what about the coil? Is the coil good? That's something that can often fail during a hot soak, especially, or driving it after a while. I don't know what the history is on this vehicle, 123,000 miles, with probably a lot of idle time. The spark plugs could have been really worn out before, stressed the coil. Now they're sensing all these failures at once. So no codes, which means my crank sensor is working. More than likely my cam sensor is working, which is inside the distributor. It probably wouldn't give me an indication if the ignition module is working or not. So let's go ahead and pop the doghouse off. We'll verify spark. We may have to see how strong our spark is, but I want to get it done before this thing actually starts up on its own. Okay, the engine cover is off. I want to verify that it still won't start. Okay, we're good there. Let's check spark. Hopefully I don't get zapped, but I'm just gonna set this against this intake bolt here. We got plenty of spark. Do the same thing over here. It should be able to jump a sizable gap. Oh wait, we have no spark right here. Or it's too weak to jump that gap. Let's see if we can get a little closer. Okay. I'm gonna put this adjustable spark tester in here. These aren't always the most accurate according to the scale on here, but I have it set to about 25,000 volts. See what we get. So I saw a spark maybe a little bit. Let me close that gap up. We might be losing spark in the distributor somewhere. Okay, it's a pretty weak spark. I'm going to go ahead and double check fuel pressure while it's acting up, just in case while we do this other testing it starts up and runs. Let's get a gauge on there. One thing that we do have to be aware of now as we're checking spark is potentials for fuel leaks. So safety first. None of my connections are leaking. A very small amount leaked out when I hooked up the gauge. Uh-oh, we got a problem. We have no fuel. Cycle the key a few times, we have no fuel. Okay, now we have a direction to go in. The spark seems a little weak at the plug wire, but it might be okay. We have definitely good spark at the coil wire. We have low fuel pressure on many of these Vortex systems. So GM from about 95, as long as it has a plastic intake manifold. You could be working on a 4.3 and have the system in 94. Some of them won't be until 96, but the Vortex system with this style intake manifold, big connector up there, they require at least 55 pounds of fuel pressure to run. Sometimes they'll start around 50, but most of them aren't happy unless they have 55 pounds. That's why we're not starting. We have 15 pounds of fuel pressure. Let's find out why. I went and got a relay bypass. It's kind of hard to see where it goes, but down in here I got the old relay pulled out. We'll drop that into place, and it's in the on position. Let's see if our pressure jumped up. Still no pressure. Let's grab an amp clamp and a voltmeter or a test lead. We'll check voltage on that wire and make sure we have voltage going to the pump. Okay, we have scope multimeter. We're going to go to a lab scope, 4-channel lab scope. Now channel 1 is going to be our voltage, so we need to bring up our scales here. And I already have channel 2 set for an amperage scale. 2 amps normally isn't enough. In this case it is. But let's just jump that up to a 20 amp scale. We have no current movement at all. No current flow through the loop on top of that switch. But we do have voltage. So that means that we're getting voltage through the relay to the output pin. We don't know if it's getting through the fuse box, but let's just jump underneath the bus. It looks like the wires are exposed to the fuel tank. I don't have to drop the tank down. Let's see what we have down there. So there's not a lot of room underneath here. Let me see if I can get it situated with me and the camera. I'm going to try and hook up this stuff to the wires first, and then we'll see what we have at the tank. So you guys can barely see that, but I can see their crimp connectors from when they put the new pigtail onto the fuel pump. So this should be fairly easy to check. We normally have 2 wires that are bigger than the other ones, and that's for our fuel pump. One is the ground, one is the power. First thing I'm going to do is throw the amp clamp around one of those wires, make sure that we haven't miraculously started spinning the pump, and we have no amperage. So we need to check and see if we have voltage back here. Don't worry, I'll seal up the wire. So we got no voltage there, unless my ground is bad. Nothing there. Nothing there. Nothing there. So this could be kind of difficult because being a bus chassis, they probably modified some of the wiring from a cabin chassis platform to what they have now. So we may have to inspect the wiring from here up to the fuse block, because somewhere we're losing all of our voltage. Okay, I think we're still recording here. I just barely bumped a wire and the pump started running. Let me get the camera flipped around to the other side of me, if I can, if there's enough room, and I'll show you what I bumped. This connector right here is what goes to my fuel pump. I just barely bumped this with my arm, pump started running. That's probably why every time they put a fuel pump in, it starts working again, because they bumped this connector. Another thing, I just reached up and touched this connector again, and it felt awfully warm to the touch. Now, as you can see, I'm getting a little red. It's kind of warm underneath here. Plus, the angle I'm at is making the blood rush to my head. I'm going to run inside, grab the thermal imager. We'll come back here, and we'll just take a quick look and see how hot that connector's getting. I mean, it's not like hot burning to the touch, but a warm connector is normally an indication of high resistance. So there could just be poor terminal tension causing the issue, and it can't hold tight enough, so as it gets hot it gets weak, and then it doesn't let the voltage pass through. Very interesting. I haven't seen this problem on a van like this before. Okay, let me see if I can get this without the transmission in the shot, because it's going to oversaturate our temperature. But there we go. Can you see that hot spot? I can't see the viewfinder. You guys can barely see it. I'll snap a picture here. But right there we got it. Oh, calibrating. Gotta wait for it to calibrate. Is that our issue? Certainly could be. So here's what I'm going to do. I have an assortment of GM MetroPack connectors. I think that's what that is. I'll have to pull this apart and try to get a new one on there. Since I have it running, I may pull it in the shop. At least get a jack under the back and some jack stands. Or the front. I suppose lifting up the front will give me more room, so I'm not quite so squished. Or I could even pull it on the drive-on rack. That'd probably be the easiest. Get myself some access to that. We can check the pin grip, and if it's a bad connection and I have the right connectors, we'll put new ones in there. If it's a tension issue, we can try cleaning it up, tightening up the connector. If I can't find one, we could always bypass the connector. That's an option. I like to leave stuff original, but if parts aren't available or I don't have them in stock and they need the bus back quick, then we'll just adjust it for now and see what we can do later, or delete it. So I think I'll do part 2 of this video where I get this thing up in the air. we'll check the pin grip on that connector, fix it, and verify everything else is good. So if you guys enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see the other videos, subscribe and click the bell. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.